this is a probable cause affidavit, and they don't have to lay out their whole case here. They just have to make up probable cause.
They went through a very lengthy analysis of the cell phone. What people have to understand is the cell phone is not like GPS.
That the scientist and the science behind this, when they do match his DNA with the DNA that was found at the crime scene, I think that will be an extremely important step. 51%.
This is Reporter Room with Jessica Della Davies.
Hello, Reporter Room investigators. Come on in, come on in. We have so much information to talk about in the Bryan Kohberger case. Welcome to Reporter Room. My name is Jessica Della Davies. I'm an investigative journalist, and my job is to investigate crimes, crime scenes, and potential suspects, and share with you how to do the same thing. If you haven't subscribed to Reporter Room, please do. It's free. Like, share, leave a comment, and let's get started. Today, we're going to be talking about Pappa Rogers and the breaking news with Ann Taylor. For those of you that are unaware, Pappa Rogers is a handle that was being used on Facebook. I was in this true crime group. Many of you were in this true crime group. Was this Bryan Kohberger? A lot of people think that it was. Now, this particular avatar that was being used by Pappa Roger is actually an old photo of a Russian soldier, but many people believe that Bryan Kohberger selected this avatar so that he could insert himself, as many people who commit crimes like this do. In the past, BTK inserted himself in the crime. In fact, he liked to taunt law enforcement, and he also liked to engage with the media. Well, in today's era, you're much more likely to try to engage with social media. So was Pappa Roger an opportunity for Bryan Kohberger to be engaging with all of us? Many people who commented about the Pappa Rogers account also believe that Bryan Kohberger was posing on Reddit as inside looking. Now, both of these accounts appear to have detailed insider knowledge to the crimes. Now, Pappa Rogers was a member of the University of Idaho murders case discussion Facebook group until his account, the Pappa Rogers account, was removed after posting some really creepy stuff. Full disclosure, I was in this chat room at this time. Now, on November 30th, Pappa Rogers posted, "Of evidence released, the murder weapon has been consistent as a large fixed blade knife. This leads me to believe that they found the sheath." So a lot of people, now this was November 30th. Bryan Kohberger wasn't arrested until December 30th. So Pappa Roger disappeared from the Facebook platform around the same time that Bryan Kohberger was arrested. Now, this evidence was released also prior to any information from the coroner regarding the autopsy. It was also released prior to us knowing what the weapon was. And in just a moment, we are going to talk about that Dateline episode. Who benefited more from the leaks? Was it the prosecution or was it the defense? We're going to discuss this in just a moment, so please stay with me. The fact that he said something about makes me wonder if this was Bryan Kohberger. Did he know that he dropped it? At one point, Pappa Roger got into an argument with another Facebook user who just wanted to know, why do you communicate like an SK? So, explaining the decision to remove Pappa Roger from the Facebook group, admin Cameron said that Pappa Roger was never a mod or an admin in the group. He was on here and argued incessantly with people and said some really creepy stuff and posted similar questions to Bryan's crime questions. So the fact that he didn't seem to have any boundaries and was arguing incessantly does sound a lot how we've heard Bryan Kohberger interacted with a lot of females in his classroom at WSU, and he seemed to have difficulty forming real relationships with people. So was this law enforcement or was this Bryan Kohberger? It was Pappa Roger who first mentioned the infamous knife sheath. He did this 1 month before police ever announced to the public that the knife sheath was found. So how did he know? Most notably, the report showed that BK purchased the K-bar knife and sheath in the spring of 2022 from Amazon. So it seems like Pappa Roger had some inside knowledge about the knife sheath and the weapon that was used in this case. So Dateline NBC also lent credence to the popular theory among many of us here on YouTube that BK did create an anonymous Facebook account to post facts about the crimes. Inside Looking is the other account. Now, this account was posting on Reddit in the Moscow Murders Reddit group. And in just a moment, we are going to talk about that Dateline episode. Who benefited more from the leaks? Was it the prosecution or was it the defense? We're going to discuss this in just a moment, so please stay with me. This user correctly identified the importance of the white Hyundai Elantra seen near the crime scene and the shoe print at the crime scene, which likely belonged to the suspect. Who benefited more from those Dateline leaks? Was it the prosecution or was it the defense? Let's dig into this. Let me move myself here too. There. All right. And I am going to check in with chat in just a second. So some people think the defense team leaked the information. Some people think it was law enforcement that leaked the information. Some people think it was the prosecution that leaked the information. So I'm going to give you my take on it, and then we're going to go through the pros and cons. We have 7 things that were leaked, and we're going to look at who benefited. I don't see an upside, in my opinion, to Bill Thompson, the lead prosecutor, leaking this information. Could it have been somebody that was used to be on the prosecution team? Maybe somebody, feeling a little bit angry or alienated. It's possible. Because in my opinion, Bill, I don't think anybody that's currently on the prosecution team is going to risk alienating this judge. I think Bill Thompson probably already feels like he has a good case. I don't think he would risk not being able to present the evidence that he has to get some clicks and views on Dateline. I don't see where this benefits the prosecution. Let me know if you think it. Now, I do think it's possible that it could be somebody that was either in law enforcement or formerly in law enforcement that has just been frustrated at being stuck under this gag order. We do know that the law enforcement departments that were involved were the Moscow Police Department, the Idaho State Police Department, the FBI, the Pullman Police Department. I think the Washington State Campus Police had some information, all the CSI investigators. So it could be somebody somehow involved in law enforcement or a former member of the prosecution who just feels frustrated under this really, I think, overly zealous gag order. And then some people believe that it's the defense team because they feel like the defense would benefit the most from the leak. Ann Taylor is now filing for another delay. She wants a delay related to the Dateline NBC. So is she just, taking advantage of the fact that there's an NBC and doing her job as an attorney? And, and I don't mean taking advantage in a negative way. I mean, pressing her advantage. But some people feel like the defense team actually benefited the most from the leak. So who's right? Well, let's go through all the information and let's just see who benefits. So let's start with the selfie photo of Bryan Kohberger in that black hoodie. This is a selfie photo of him in the black hoodie. Now, Dateline said that he was doing this as a hat tip. They didn't use the word hat tip. I'm paraphrasing, but that he was doing this to copy Ted Bundy. This was unknown prior to this leak. And also the fact that Bryan Kohberger reportedly searched out Ted Bundy and watched a movie about Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy also went to college in the same state, Washington State, not at the same school, but the same state as Bryan Kohberger. Now, did Bryan Kohberger choose to attend school in the state of Washington because he wanted to feel closer to Ted Bundy? I don't know. So who benefited from this leak? I would think that this would be a benefit to the prosecution. I don't think this hoodie did anything to really help the defense, in my opinion. So I think that one goes to the prosecution. Let me know if you have a different take. Number 2, we have 7 of these. The WSU colleague. Okay, now this was not new news. I reported this information out to you guys over a year ago. and it was in the public domain already. But there was a little bit of new information presented with it. They presented it that she was somehow infatuated with Bryan Kohberger. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm just wondering if the defense is going to try to allude to the fact that she deserved to have her cameras utilized to spy on her, because if you guys are not familiar with the story, if you didn't see the Dateline NBC episode, or you didn't see the coverage that I did a year ago, I got called a liar, by the way, when I reported that out, just FYI. But the WSU student wasn't new, but it was a colleague, and she shared an office with Bryan Kohberger. We didn't know they shared an office prior to Dateline NBC. She kept her keys and probably other things in the drawer, maybe with her purse. He, allegedly got her key, went in, moved some stuff around, took a watch and some papers, took a cake and put it in the microwave, enough where it freaked her out when she went home. She noticed her key was missing and then noticed it was returned. And then she was having security cameras installed inside her home, and he offered to help her, got her Wi-Fi password, and then used her own security system to spy on her in her most intimate moments. So this was already out in the public domain. So this, other than the fact of how he got the key and the fact that it was papers and a watch missing, everything else was out there. So I think this one is a wash. It doesn't really benefit the prosecution or the defense for Dateline to have put this out. It wasn't new. It was news we already knew. Number 3, the Amazon searches prior to the crimes having been out in the public domain. Again, this was already public. I reported this out last year that he had purchased the K-bar knives in the spring of 2022 due to the fact that the defense team tried to suppress this evidence. So that was not new. They didn't want the jury to know about BK's search. So they made the argument that the algorithm made Bryan Kohberger choose the knife, put it in his cart, and pay for it and check out and have it shipped to himself at his parents' house. We also knew that he searched again for a K-bar knife after the crimes. I don't think this information is new. So let's talk about the phone calls that occurred back to Michael Kohberger's family line. This was new. So let's talk about so we didn't know about the phone calls. Now, one of them was like 54 minutes, and there was 3 phone calls made to family lines under the name of Michael Kohberger at 6:30 in the morning Pullman time, which would have been later in Pennsylvania. Now, we didn't know about these phone calls at all prior to Dateline. So who does this benefit? Well, some people feel like it benefits the defense team because they feel like it shows that Bryan Kohberger was acting normally that morning. Other people feel like it favors the prosecution because they think it's suspicious that he was calling, and maybe gives them Brian Laundrie, Gabby Petito vibes because Brian Laundrie, you will recall, hiked after he did away with Gabby and made a call to his parents, who promptly got him a lawyer. And he, we know the story. He drove Gabby's van, returned back with Gabby's van. And a lot of people feel like his parents knew. So does this phone call benefit the defense? Does the knowledge of the phone call benefit the prosecution? It depends on how you look at it. But I think the phone calls could benefit the defense in that it does show that he was acting potentially normally. It depends on if he called his dad just 3 times and he doesn't usually do that, then it would benefit the prosecution. But the jury doesn't know that, right? They wouldn't know, how often he normally would call his dad. So I don't know. I think this one is kind of a wash. Also, let me know if you feel differently. Let's go to number 5. Now, this, I think, benefits the defense. This is the hiking story that was told by the DJ who met Bryan Kohberger at that pool party that summer. Now, this hiking story, the DJ talks about coming down from hiking up this mountain, and he said it was late, the sun was setting, it was starting to get dark, and Bryan Kohberger was going up the hill at night. So I think this leak does benefit the defense team because it shows that Bryan Kohberger liked to go hiking at night. So that's one for the defense team, in my opinion. Let's go to number 6. Let's talk about the photographs of the young women in their swimsuits that were also friends of Kaylee, Maddie, Ethan, and Xana, or some friends of those. I again think this benefits the defense. So hear me out. I think that he had photographs of the victims. Potentially, we've heard. I've been reporting that we have heard that he has photographs of the victims on his cell phone. That was not what Dateline put out. So by putting this out early, it helps to offset the shock that the jury might find out that he had photos of victims on the cell phone, and the defense can say he had lots of young women on his cell phone. So again, I think the photos of the young women in their swimsuits and that they were friends with the victims benefits the defense. Let me know if you have a different take on it. Last, number 7. This is the searches that he did related to corn with a P regarding liking and, enjoying non-consensual SA, being medicated and being passed out and being asleep. This is what he was into. This does not benefit the defense, in my opinion. I think that the fact that Bryan Kohberger enjoyed non-consensual SA helps the prosecution. I don't think it helps the defense at all. I think it's bad for the defense that this is the kind of thing that he was into is gross. I think a lot of women are going to think this is gross. So Ann Taylor now has come out guns blazing. We knew something was going on because the last hearing was delayed. I did a pre-show. I was expecting to talk for 30 minutes. I ended up talking for an hour while we were waiting. But, I think that she came out guns blazing early on in her hearing, accusing the prosecution of leaking the information. We heard the judge admonish both sides not to call names. So I believe there was name calling going on. I don't know if this was coming from the defense or the prosecution, but a lot of people are wondering if Ann Taylor attempted to try for a mistrial or a delay then, after the leaking from the Dateline stating that it was hurting her client so much. So who ultimately benefits from the leaking? I think the fact that Ann Taylor is trying to have this evidence that was leaked all thrown out, I think it benefits the defense. So I don't know. I'm not saying the defense leaked it. I just am going by who benefited. We know Ann Taylor is working hard to get a delay for Bryan Kohberger. She's claiming she doesn't have enough time to go through everything. She's claiming that because of the Dateline NBC episode that she can't get a fair trial for Bryan Kohberger. And I don't think the judge is going to roll with this. Let me know what you think. Thank you so much for coming by to spend a little bit of time with me. I can't get to 50,000 subscribers without your help, so please subscribe and let me know what you think about all of this in the comment section below. Thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.